COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Think about it. We're still thinking about it. That was Joe Biden in Pittsburgh yesterday with a trenchant observation about the past 100 years. Did you understand it? Well, we learned today that the Russians are spreading misinformation like they always do. This time they're trying to convince us that Joe Biden is slipping. He's not. He's not losing his mind. That's just what Vladimir Putin wants you to think. Actually, what's going on is that the Democratic nominee for president is testing you. He wants to make sure you're paying attention. He does it all the time. Watch.
He doesn't want to shed light. He wants to generate heat. And he's stoking violence in our cities.
The president is stroking violence and generating heat. Sounds like a Stacey Abrams novel. Sounds naughty. Sounds like a real problem if you're worried about climate change. At this point, we're all used to the Democratic nominee for president being confusing. Happens every day. We're just like fish in an aquarium, though. It's not a big deal. We are well used to it. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who is not used to it joins us now. Mark Steyn, about to pull out our proverbial fish tank and blow our minds. He spent the last several weeks out of this country in undisclosed locations. He's been unglued from the internet, detached from social media. He's essentially like that proverbial alien from another planet joining us cold. We're going to get his reaction to what would become. Mark, you're just seeing this all for the first time. When you left, Joe Biden was quoting Aeschylus from memory flawlessly. Now there's this. How do you assess the change?
Well, you know, this is stunning to me because 6 months ago, we were all talking about how Joe Biden is not the superb, coherent, articulate guy from the 90s and the 80s. What's stunning to me now is I miss the fantastically incoherent Joe Biden circa the New Hampshire primary when he was threatening co-eds to take them outside and beat them up for being dog-faced lying pony soldiers, when he was coming up with the fantastic anecdotes about corn pop and rappelling down into that gorge in Afghanistan with a 37-star general wearing Esther Williams' bathing suit, or whatever the anecdote was. And now he's just reduced to, you know the thing. Come on, man. It's like the worst in a... Where's the corn pop virtuoso, Esther Williams bathing suit, rusting razor, holding under the rain barrel? Where's the insane specific detail of Joe Biden fantasies at their brilliant best from just New Hampshire primary month? It's tragic.
You can't even lie anymore. It's sad. No, you're absolutely right. When you lose your ability to make up false stories, you've lost everything.
Yeah, when you can't even fantasize anymore. So he was fantastically insane 6 months ago, and now he's just dully insane. This is a real loss for America.
So, Mark, you, I'm sure, missed this, too, but the mayor of Washington said yesterday she's considering tearing down the Washington Monument. But that's not the only monument in America under attack. The walls of Graceland, Elvis Presley's old home in Memphis, have been graffitied with slogans like BLM, abolish ICE, or defund the police. Reports say it's unclear who's responsible for the graffiti. Probably Trump supporters. What's your guess?
Yeah, well, one of the things I think, I heard earlier today that China now has the biggest navy in the world. And people get worried about that. But the great thing about America is now we have the most plinths in the world. Every American city you can walk around and there are these fantastic plinths. America is really leading in the world in plinths. And I think that's actually something to cherish at this moment. And, you know, a few months ago when we were talking about China, it was a rare moment. We were talking about China uncoupling from China becoming the dominant power. There's no point going to war with China because they make all the aspirins. So 3 days into the war, we'll all have splitting headaches and won't be able to man the drones at CENTCOM and all the rest of it. And if you had to, that was the most important issue of the day. Now, 6 months on, if you had to name the least important issue of the day, what would you come up with? Moving the Washington Monument? renaming Eskimo pie, the Sierra Club 86ing its founder because 14 years after his death, an acquaintance of his had something to do with the eugenics movement. There's no comparison to this. You have the big issue of the day. China snaffled the world out from under us while we were talking about transgender bathrooms. And now, 6 months later, we're just talking about renaming Eskimo pie and whether we should just take everybody down and leave empty plinths wall to wall.
But you make a solid point of something that we can feel good about. If you're looking for the world headquarters for illiterate graffiti, you're in it.
Mm. Oh no, I think we should rename. Yeah, I think that there's only 3 or 4 slogans, but they're everywhere now. They've mastered it. I think these are actually ACAB, A-C-A-B. I can't say what it stands for, but the ability of these people to actually spell a 4-letter word like A-C-A-B is impressive, given that all the schools have been closed for 6 months. So there's something to be said for that.
A lot of vowels in that word. Also, sadness when you were gone. Nancy Pelosi was entrapped in a conspiracy orchestrated by a far-right cabal of hairstylists. Wondering if Adam Schiff is the one to untangle this knot of deceit and conspiracy.
Well, I'm inclined to think that Nancy here, you know, the problem here is that our rulers are not bound by the rules they impose on us. And that applies normally when it's Governor Northam in Virginia or Justin Trudeau getting into the old blackface and singing a couple of choruses of Waiting for the Robert E. Lee and to relieve the stress of virtue signaling all day long. But this is actually worse now because they're not being bound by the rules they impose on us, which are things like getting a haircut, opening the door of your business, leaving the house. And so they've taken this whole thing of not being imposed by the rules they impose upon us to a whole new level. And it's one thing for Justin and Governor Northam to caper around in blackface, but when it's getting a haircut, when it's getting black hair, as lots of women across America would like to get right now, and they can't get it, but Nancy Pelosi can, that's taking the whole contempt for the citizenry to a whole other level.
And then she attacked the owner of the salon who was going broke because of the restrictions that Pelosi both supports and flouts. I mean, that's kind of icing on the hypocrisy cake.
Yeah, this woman hasn't been allowed to do a job for because the last time I was here, we were in the 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And the 2 weeks to flatten the curve is now about to enter its 3rd quarter. So we've adopted some kind of new decimal calendar where you're stuck in the curve-flattening groundhog fortnight for the end of the year. And this the willingness of the citizenry to accept this is actually astonishing to me, and it can't actually go on. There's nothing that is more demoralizing than seeing just ordinary activities made illegal and the citizenry accepting it.
Really quickly, give me your 10-second take on the news that's dominating this country tonight, and that is the conversation between Chris Cuomo of CNN and the disgraced felonious lawyer Michael Cohen, which we played last night on the show. Did you catch that?
Well, I did catch that, and I have to say Chris Cuomo's ratings would probably be a lot healthier if he did the show in Michael Cohen mode. Now, CNN has had notorious double acts, bad double acts, throughout its history, as you well know, Tucker. I won't mention any, but in this case, I think actually Cuomo and Cohen would be the way to go for CNN.
You know what? That is a great... Because I actually liked the Chris Cuomo on that recording better than the one on TV. I think probably a lot of people did. That's more real.
That's authentic. That's authentic Cuomo. That's the real Cuomo.
His employers did not feel that way. In a minute, we're going to have an update on what's happened to Chris Cuomo over at CNN. Mark Steyn, we're so glad you're back. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tucker. Great to be with you.